Hey Math 7, today is April 28th, day 21 of Contingency Learning Plans. So we are going to continue talking about circles and specifically radius and diameter. And today, instead of just identifying those, which you did a great job of yesterday, we are going to also be finding one or the other. So, for example, if you're given the radius, how do you find the diameter? If you're given the diameter, how do you find the radius? So the first two questions is just identifying, which is super important to be able to do, and I'm not going to talk about those because that's all we did yesterday. But starting with number 3 is when you have to start finding the other one, essentially. So I'm going to jump over to Knowability where I have the same pictures. Me drawing them, though, so sorry. And we are going to figure this out. So we see this line going from one end through the center point to the other end of the circle, edge of the circle. That means that this 24 is our diameter because it goes from one end to the other through the center point. Now, we have to think, what do we know about the relationship between diameter and the radius? Well, if you think about it, the radius, we know, goes from the center point out to the edge of the circle. Well, that just looks like I just did half of it, right? It looks like I just did half of my radius, or of my diameter. So what if we took this 24 and we split it into 2 equal groups? 24 divided by 2 equals 12. Well, then that would mean that this part is 12. And radius should always be the same, right? Center point out is the same. And so that part's 12. Well, what's 12 plus 12? That's 24. So that's how you find your radius given your diameter. And so let's write that down a little more clearly. I'm going to change from black, though. So if you're given so to find your radius, you would take your diameter D and divide by 2. You just split it in half. So that means our radius here is 12. And that's what we would put in number 3, 12. All right. So now what if it's the other way? So here we see from center point out to the edge. That's the line we see, and that's apparently 2. How do we figure out what that 2 is? Well, it's not the diameter because it doesn't go all the way across. This 2 represents the radius. So if in number 3 we saw that half the diameter is the radius, wouldn't it be safe to say that this green highlighted radius, if I just continued it, if I did the same exact thing, I need to try and make it a straight line, that these 2 lengths are the same? So that means if this is 2, and that means that green line is 2, so our diameter would be 2 plus 2, or 4. Another way to do it is you can just multiply your radius by 2. So, or you could say, well, D, your diameter equals 2R, or 2 times whatever the radius is. And I know that's kind of confusing because 2 is the radius, but we'll fix that. There'll be another example. So my diameter is 4. Okay, so here on 5 and 6, I didn't show pictures. There are pictures in the Canvas quiz, but I did not want to subject you to any more of my colors. So if we're given the diameter is 16, so that means, I'm going to have to draw a picture, sorry. The diameter goes one side to the other, so that means that's 16. But I only want to know from the center point out. So that would be only half of that. So 16 divided by 2 equals 8. So my radius is 8. Now, for number 6, we would do the same thing, right? If our diameter... Oh, that is not a circle. Hello, that is called an oval. That was a really bad circle if it thought I was drawing an oval. Hello, sorry. So here, our diameter is 14.2, but we only want part of it. We only want from the center point out, so we only want half of it. I'm going to change colors. I'm sick of black. So 14.2 divided by 2. Ooh, that's not a known fact for me. I'm either going to have to get out my handy-dandy calculator or do some quick long division. Remember, first number goes in the box. So 2 does not fit into 1. 2 does fit into 14 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14 minus, get 0. Oh, I'm passing the decimal, so I got to bring that puppy up. Bring down my 2. 2 fits into 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Oh, good, I don't have to do any more. So that means my radius equals 7.1. Now, last one I'm going to do with you. Number 7. So here, instead, thank you, we're given our radius is 2.7. So in order to find out what the diameter is, we would need to take that radius, this is not a good radius, sorry guys, I did not use the center point, and double it. So I would have to do 2.7 times 2, or I could just add 7 times 2 is 14, regroup my 1, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, 1 decimal point, so 5.4. So let me show you how I could also just add the two numbers together. 7 tenths is 14 tenths, regroup my 1, 5. Same thing, so my diameter would equal 5.4. So that's all I have for you. Remember, if you're given your diameter and you need to find your radius, divide. If you are given your radius and you need to find diameter, multiply, because one gets it bigger and one gets it smaller. So just think about that relationship. Draw pictures. It really does help. That's why I kept drawing them. Have a great day. Ask your teacher if you have any questions. Bye-bye.